Good morning, students. Today we are going to see the bridge course for our upcoming semester. In this today's lecture, we are going to see some of the basic concepts which are necessary for understanding the subject in detail. तो स्टूडेंट्स, आज के लेक्चर में ये हमारा आपके सेकेंड ईयर में फर्स्ट लेक्चर है। इस लेक्चर में हम आपको बेसिक कंसेप्ट्स जो कि जरूरी है अपना कोर्स को अच्छी तरह समझने के लिए, वो आज हम डिस्कस करने वाले हैं। सो नेक्स्ट स्लाइड। सो व्हाट इज द ऑब्जेक्टिव? सो इन दिस session I am going to explain you different forms of energy, significance of kinetic energy and its importance in particular automobile application of brake design. So what happens in brake? What is the purpose of brake? The brake is used for stopping the automobile. So what does it do? It reduces the kinetic energy of vehicle. The kinetic energy is associated with the motion of the automobile. Next important thing is design mechanical advantage. Discuss mechanical advantage and it is used in a vehicle. Now see here what happens. The mechanical advantage. Okay, so mechanical advantage means in less effort you are moving more amount of load. Suppose by applying force of 5 Newton, you can displace a body of 50 Newton with help of mechanical advantage. Third important thing is the coefficient of friction. Now you know the friction is undesirable in some of the automobile parts, such as in bearings the friction is minimum, and in case of these brakes the friction is maximum. So as per the application, the friction is present, or we can say the prescribed amount of friction is there in the mechanical components. Fourth important point is describe the difference between heat and temperature. So a lot of students are having confusion between heat and temperature. So what is this difference? If you know this difference or the similarity between these two, okay, so although these two things are different, okay, but there is some amount of analogy or a relation between them. This relation you should be able to describe, as well as the difference between these two quantities is necessary to describe. Final, describe the methods used to identify plastic, iron, steel and aluminum. Now here the four important components which we are using in our automobiles, these are nothing but the materials. Most of the automobile components are made up of these materials. These materials are primarily plastic, iron, steel and aluminum. A plastic is a light in weight, is a not a good conductor of electricity. Iron we can say it is having a good amount of strength and it is a low cost material. Steel is a we can say a alloy of iron and carbon, in which the properties of iron are enhanced or improved by addition of carbon, such as we can say the strength of the iron is increased by addition of some amount of carbon. Its ductility is improved to some extent by small amount of carbon. And finally the aluminium. As you all know, aluminium is light in weight and also it is having comparatively good strength. That is why it becomes a very, we can say, a good material for our applications in automobile. And some key terms which I am going to discuss, and these are very much important for you, and everybody should know these terms, their meaning, their significance. These terms are acid material, alkaline, brake horsepower, that is bhp, British thermal unit, caustic material, Celsius, centigrade, conduction, conductor, convection, dynamometer, that is dyno, energy, Fahrenheit, first class lever, force, fulcrum, horsepower, hypothesis, inertia, insulator, kinetic energy, leverage, mass, mechanical advantage, Newton's law of motion, then pedal ratio, pH, potential energy, power, propagation, radiation, root cause, scientific method, second class lever, third class lever, torque, weight, work, and wrought alloys. These are very important terms, and you should be able to recognize these terms at the end of our session. Now I am going to discuss scientific method. A scientific method is a set of steps, and these steps are necessary to perform in order to solve a particular problem. Okay, if we are using any scientific method for solving any problem, it helps us to eliminate errors and achieve accurate results. A scientific method involves 4 steps. Step number 1 involves observation of a condition or a problem. We have to define that problem, describe that problem in step number 1. In step number 2, we have to formulate an explanation that could be the cause. Okay, so whatever the cause is there, we have to provide some explanation, okay, or we have to formulate some explanation for that cause. And in step number 3, we are comparing this explanation, that is hypothesis, to see if it matches with the existing problem. Okay, so if it matches with the existing problem, you can proceed to step number 4. And if it does not satisfies or does not it matches with the existing problem, then you have to again go to step number 2. Then again you have to formulate another explanation that could cause that is responsible for the cause, and again you have to go for the step number 3, and you have to do this exercise until you get or you find the match between the existing problem and your explanation. And there is step number 4. In step number 4, after the explanation has proved to be a possible solution to the problem, then we have to perform the additional test that should verify this scientific method. So these are the 4 important steps for any scientific method. Next, using the scientific method. The scientific method, okay, since we are engineers or technicians, okay, this scientific method for us does not make us to perform a research, whereas the scientific method is a problem solving method. You have to treat it as a problem solving method. That means every fault should be investigated to find the root cause. The true cause of the failure should be found out, rather than solving what at first is thought to be problem or a fault. So for any particular fault, there can be n number of reasons. So all these n number of reasons you should not try. The scientific method allows us to find out the correct, we can say, method to solve a particular problem. Okay, then third important thing is, so what is the philosophy of this scientific method? What philosophy we have to use while implementing this scientific method? So we have to ask one questions, and that question should be starting with why. Why the problem has occurred. Okay, so it helps us by asking this question. It helps us to discover the fault. Often this leads to another possible problem, and then the technician should ask another why. Okay, so this scientific method of finding the root cause of an automotive problem is called the 5 whys. By the time the technician has asked why 5 times, the root cause is usually discovered. Okay, so in the next slide I am going to explain the implementation of this 5 whys for particular automotive problem. Now here we can say a automotive problem, that is the vehicle does not start and the battery appears to be dead. So we are here implementing the 5 why. So the first why is what caused the battery to be discharged. So this question you have to ask. Okay, for this question we get the answer or the observation, okay, such as is the battery defective or did the customer leave the lights on. So these two explanation could be the answer for this first why. Then second why, assume the battery was not in good condition but discharged. Now the technician should ask the second why. Why did the battery become discharged? So this is the second question. Now a battery ignition of drain test and testing of the charging system needs to be performed. Okay, assume the battery test was good. The charging system is not working. Okay, so next we have to proceed further with the third why. Now in this case the charging system was not working correctly. A visual inspection found that the generator, means the alternator drive belt, was not tight enough. Then the third why is the accessory drive belt still loose? Okay, then it progresses to the fourth why was the accessory drive belt loose? The cause could be a defective tensioner. If the tensioner was not a problem, then another why needs to be asked. Then final why. Fifth, this is the fifth why. If the accessory belt and the tensioner were okay, further investigation would be needed to find the root cause. For example, is one of the tensioner retaining bolts loose? Maybe from previous repair. This could be the root cause. So in these five whys, we have used the scientific method for particular automotive problem. Okay, now we will further go to the next slide. Energy principles. Okay, so what is energy? We can say energy is ability or the capacity to do work. Chemical, mechanical, and electrical energy are the most familiar kinds involved in automobile operation. Okay. Energy is called kinetic energy if it is in the form of a moving object. An example is a moving vehicle. Then next is potential energy, is capable of being changed to useful energy, such as energy stored in a battery or a vehicle at top of a hill. In both of these cases, there is no energy being released. Okay, now here we can see in the diagrams there is a sun, we get heat and light. Mechanical energy, a hammer is used for fixing a nail. Chemical energy, the fuel which is in the can, such as the gasoline. Then finally the sound. Okay, these are the energy forms. Now we are going for next slide. The most important term, that is the torque. Okay, so what is this torque? A torque is the term which used to describe rotating force that may or may not result in motion. Okay, so this is the rotating force that may or may not result in motion, and it is measured as force multiplied by the length of the lever through which it acts. If 1 foot long wrench is used to apply 10 pounds of force to turn a bolt, then you are exerting 10 pound-feet of torque. The metric unit for torque is Newton meters. 1 pound-feet is equivalent to 1.3558 Newton meters, and 1 Newton meter corresponds to 0.7376 pound-foot. Now here we can see the example. Here there is a nut, and to loose this nut we are using this wrench. So we are applying the force at this point, and this results into rotary motion, okay, or a rotating force on this mechanical component, that is this nut. And so what is this torque? The torque is nothing but it is a multiplication of this force and this perpendicular distance. Okay, so this is the nut from the center of nut. Okay, and the application of force, the total perpendicular distance. Okay, and the magnitude of this force gives us the amount of torque. Now next important concept is work. So work is accomplished by the movement when the force or the torque is applied. It is calculated by multiplying the applied force by the distance the object moves. If you applied 100 pounds of force to move an object 10 feet, then you accomplished 1000 foot-pounds of work. Now see here, this is this person, and this person is moving the object by applying the force of 100 pounds by 10 feet. So when he moves this object and that object achieves this position, then we say the work which is performed by this person is around 1000 foot-pounds. Now the most important question: what is the difference between torque and work? So this both concept we have studied in the slide which was present before. Okay, torque can be expressed in foot-pound, and also the energy can be also mentioned, or the work can be also mentioned in foot-pounds, but there is a difference. Okay, so what is that major difference? Okay, the torque represents a force exerted a certain distance from the object and acts as a lever. Okay, while as the work is movement over a certain distance, okay, and it is multiplied by the force applied. Engine produce torque and service technician exert torque, represented by the unit foot-pound. Okay, so this is the major difference between the torque and the work. Okay, both are having the same unit. The here also it is the torque is also multiplication of force and distance, and work is also multiplication of force and distance, but the nature of applying the force is different in both the case. Okay, and the distance. Okay, in the torque, the distance we are taking the distance of the lever. In the work, the distance we are taking the movement of your object. Okay, so such differences you should be note down to identify what is torque and work. Now the next important concept is power and horsepower. Okay, so what is mean by power? Power means the rate of doing work and equals work divided by time. If the object is moved in 10 seconds or 10 minutes does not make a difference in the amount of work accomplished, but it does affect the amount of power needed. The power is expressed in unit of foot-pounds per minute. Okay. Now here, what is the major difference? The work which we are performing on any object, okay, and that work is performed with help of certain time. Okay. Now here we are taking the time into picture. If the work is performed in less amount of time, the energy needed is more, the power needed is more. If the work is performed in more amount of time, we can say the power which is needed is comparatively less. So an engine which produces an horsepower, and 1 horsepower is the power required to move 550 pounds 1 foot in 1 second, or 33,000 pounds 1 foot in 1 minute. This is expressed as 500 pounds per second or 33,000 pounds per minute. So here there is a formula of horsepower. The torque which is produced by the engine, its RPM divided by 5252. By this formula you get the horsepower, and whose unit is pounds, foot-pounds per minute. Okay. Now the actual horsepower produced by engine is measured with help of a dynamometer. A dynamometer is a special type of equipment which is used for measuring the horsepower developed by the engine. It places a load on the engine and measures the twisting force the crankshaft places against the load. The load holds the engine speed, so it is called a brake. Horsepower derived is called brake horsepower or bhp, and calculated from torque readings at various engine speeds in revolutions per minute or RPM. 1 horsepower is equal to 33,000 foot-pounds of work per minute. Now here in this diagram we can see there is one horse, okay, and the horse is used for lifting this weight with help of this pulley arrangement. Now if the horse moves this weight from the ground position to 50 meter, and the weight of this object is 91 kg, okay, then this operation, if it is performed in 1 minute, then the total, we can say, the power of this doing this work is 1 horsepower. Now you can see, you can get from this. So if a particular engine is having 80 horsepower, means that engine is capable of performing this operation, okay, 80 times per minute. Okay, so this is the significance of horsepower. The next important concept is Newton's law of motion. Sir Isaac Newton was an English physicist and mathematician who developed Newton's three laws of motion. And these three laws of motion plays a very important role in our day-to-day life. The first law of motion states that an object at rest tends to be at rest, and the object in motion tends to stay in motion unless acted on by an outside force. For example, it requires a large force to get vehicle that is stopped into motion. It requires that a force which is applied to slow and stop a vehicle that is in motion. Okay, so what does it tells? So if I am giving one example, if a car is moving at a very high speed, means it is having a large amount of power, and that power is used for acceleration of this vehicle by which the vehicle has achieved a particular speed. If I am applying the brakes, okay, so what I am doing, a large amount of force I am applying to stop this vehicle. If the speed is high, a large amount of force is applied for stopping the vehicle. If the speed is low, a low amount of force is applied for stopping this vehicle. Now, Newton's second law states that force needed to move an object is proportional to mass of the object multiplied by the acceleration rate of the object. So I am giving one example. This means it requires a great deal more force to accelerate a heavy sport utility vehicle than a small economic car. The rate of acceleration depends on amount of force applied. Then third important law states for every action there is an opposite and equal reaction. Example you can take, when the air fuel mixture is ignited in an engine, the force is exerted on the piston, forcing it downwards, causing the crankshaft to rotate. The opposite action is applied to the cylinder head of the engine and applies some force, although this part is designed not to move. So what happens? So when the air fuel mixture is ignited in the engine, the force is applied on the piston, which forces it to move downward, causing this crankshaft to rotate. And in the similar fashion, the opposite action is applied to the cylinder head, which is at the top of the piston of the engine, and it applies the same force on the top side. Okay, although this cylinder head is packed with help of these nuts and bolts, which does not permits the cylinder head to move. Now next we can see what is this kinetic energy. Kinetic energy is a fundamental form of mechanical energy, the energy of mass in motion. Greater the mass of object and faster it moves, the more kinetic energy it possesses. The object of a brake system is to dispose that energy in a safe and controlled manner. Engineers calculate the kinetic energy by using the formula is equal to m multiplied by v square divided by 29.9. Okay, so this energy, if you want in the unit of foot-pound system, okay, so that is mass is the mass of the body, v is the velocity possessed by the body. Okay, by these two terms we can determine what is the kinetic energy possessed by the body. Okay, now here we can see the example. These are the two bodies. Okay, the upper red car is having the weight of 3000 pounds and this blue car is having weight of 6000 pounds. Both these are moving at the same speed of 30 miles per hour, but both of them possesses different kinetic energy, because in the first case we can see this mass multiplied by the speed divided by 29.9 gives us 90,000 3001, okay, of kinetic energy. And in the second case we get double, that is 180.602 of kinetic energy. So this kinetic energy we can say it is dependent upon the mass of the object. Okay, now in this case these both cars are having the same, we can say same mass, but the upper car is moving at 30 miles per hour and this below car is moving at 60 miles per hour. Both are then having different kinetic energy because both of them possess different velocity. So that by the multiplication or the using the formula we get the kinetic energy of 90,301 in case of this first car, but in case of the second car we get around 3,61,204, which is 4 times more as compared to this top car. So as the speed increases, the kinetic energy also increases by the So if if the speed doubles, the kinetic energy becomes 4 times. So this is the significance of the speed and mass in case of this kinetic energy. So what is the difference between the mass and weight? So the mass is nothing but the amount of matter in an object. One of the properties of mass is the inertia. Inertia is resistance to bring in being put in motion and tendency to remain in motion once it is set in motion. Weight of an object is the force of the gravity on the object and may be defined as the mass times the acceleration of gravity. Therefore, mass means the property of the object and weight is a force. So, I will give you the simple. So, if you are having the total mass, okay, total mass of your body is 50 kg. If you multiply the 50 kg into 9.81, so you will get the weight that will be in the unit of force. Okay. So this is the difference between the mass and the weight. The unit of mass is in kg, and the we can say the this weight we can also describe as a force which is acting on this planet. Now the next important concept is the kinetic energy and brake design that we are going to see in the next lecture. So thank you for today. If you find any difficulty, you can message me on my WhatsApp number.